Milsim West is an airsoft experience unlike any other. The event pushes participants to their limits by requiring them to carry everything that they need for a 40-hour airsoft game. I recently attended one of their events, and today I want to talk to you guys about what I learned from the event, as well as some helpful tips to make sure that you're prepared for Milsim West. What's up, Airsofters? My name is Lane, and welcome to the BB Warrior. We're here to help you have a better time both on and off the airsoft field through our educational videos to make sure that you're prepared to hit the field and have the most fun possible. So recently I attended a Milsim West event, and it was great to really test my kit because I believe that these are some of the most extreme events in North America. Nothing really compares to Milsim West because of the challenge and the duration of the events. So the first thing that I want to talk about for today is something that I feel like a lot of players don't consider as much as they should, or they skimp out on it because it's not stuff they use for every airsoft game they go to, and that's going to be your sustainment gear. And I understand the thought process. You're thinking, I don't need a sleeping bag or a meal kit for every game I go to, so I shouldn't spend as much on that. I'd rather get that cool uniform, get a new gun for the event, whatever it may be, but this is really dangerous thinking. Although you don't use this for every single event, it's going to be some of the most important kit that you bring to a Milsim West. It actually does have some utility outside of the world of airsoft. So when we're talking about our sustainment gear, what are we talking about? We're primarily talking about your ruck and everything inside of it. I mentioned the ruck specifically because I saw a lot of people with very uncomfortable setups. If you don't have a good high quality ruck, it doesn't matter how you pack it, it's going to be very uncomfortable. But as well, making sure that you take the time to know how to pack a ruck and having all the important things inside for your sustainment gear. So besides the backpack, we're going to have your actual sleep gear in there, making sure that you're comfortable even when the temperatures drop at night, your meal kit and making sure that you can prepare food for yourself. You're not going to survive off granola bars and beef jerky for 40 hours. And as well, your cold and wet weather gear. This is where I see a lot of people fail because nice cold weather gear, and especially wet gear, is expensive. I get that. But it's one of those things that is incredibly important when you're going to be going to a large scale game like this, because of this game, it downpoured like all day Saturday. And if you were wet and uncomfortable and cold, well, you weren't going to have a very good time. So that is the biggest lesson from Milsim West. This is one that I kind of knew in advance and I tried to prepare for. I thought this would be the weak part of everything that I had, and I did all right. My ruck isn't the greatest quality out there. I definitely think that it's one of those things, buy the best that you could afford, and I was definitely on a budget for this game, but it worked. Learning how to pack your ruck properly, and if you want to learn how, I'll have a link in the description below to an article we wrote about this on the BB Warrior website about a year ago. Making sure that everything is comfortable on your body is super important. And I know, again, this isn't airsoft stuff, but if you're playing airsoft, you're probably into the outdoors, you're probably into camping. That's the excuse to use all this stuff. That's how you justify spending more money on it. I can't tell you how much since I've gotten my Jetboil, which is my little portable stove. It's like this big. I use that all the time in camping. I love that thing, and it's super worth the money. So a lot of this sustainment stuff, well, it's not something you use every day for airsoft. It can be used for other activities out there, which makes it, worth it to spend a little bit more money, and you can have other hobbies than airsoft. But sustainment gear, definitely one of those things you have to make sure that you have nailed down, because if you're cold, if you're hungry, or if you can't sleep well, you're gonna have a really, really bad time. The next thing I want to talk about, and we touched on this very briefly a moment ago, is to make sure that you actually test your equipment. It's one thing to buy good equipment, but if you've never used it before or you haven't practiced packing it in your ruck, because let's be honest, everything's a little bit bigger when you try to put it back in than when it was originally in there, you're going to have a really bad time. Now, this is one that I had to learn the hard way. So at this event, in my plate carrier, at this Milsim West, I should say, I used weighted plates. If you don't know, if you wear 5-pound weighted plates, 5 pounds each, you get an extra tourniquet, which is an extra revive, which is very, very useful, especially when your entire squad or your entire platoon has this capability. It makes it very hard for your platoon to die. And the thing that I didn't really practice with is I got my plates at the event. I've used like soft armor, and I have training plates that I've used in other plate carriers, but my training plates didn't fit in my plate carrier, which was an IOTV. The plates I got sat about 3 inches too low for where they should be. The IOTV has a really weird system for plates. That was uncomfortable because they were sitting lower on my back. If it was on the front, it wouldn't be so bad, but I always felt that in my lower back. It was pretty uncomfortable, especially once I put the ruck on. So making sure that you can practice with your kit ahead of time is going to be crucial. And one of the places that I see people fail a lot is going back to the first point, the ruck and their sustainment gear. People don't expect how much this is going to weigh or how bad it's going to suck to move that thing, but when you have 35, 40 pounds on your back, You need to practice with that. You can't just throw it on for the first time and be fine. Go on hikes. Even if you don't want to bring all your weird airsoft crap when you go on a hike, fill it with water bottles, fill it with your plates that you're going to be using for your plate carrier, whatever. As long as you can secure that load close to your body like you should when you're packing a ruck, that's going to be critical to making sure that you're going to be successful. Because something that I never really trained for, because I didn't want to be that weirdo, is wearing my plate carrier and wearing the ruck on top of it. I tried it at my house just to make sure that I could like cinch it down and everything, but it's a whole different beast once you have your helmet on, you have your gun with you, you have your plate carrier, and then the ruck on top of it. It fits different, and that's something that I wasn't quite prepared for. I was able to make it through the ruck very easily. I didn't fall behind. That's definitely something to be aware of, is to just make sure that you are practicing and testing your kit before you go out. Just bought a new plate carrier, new pouches, whatever it may be, go to an open play. Just make sure it all works for you, because the solution for me may not be the correct thing. Everybody's different, everybody's body's different. You know, for a slim guy myself versus somebody who's like absolutely jacked, we have different solutions for what we're gonna wear. The third thing that I wanna talk about for today is preparing for stuff to break. It's just gonna happen. The real casualty of BB War is all the guns that break at the events. I saw so many guns go down. I saw a VFC go down on day one because the buffer tube snapped out. My buddy Sima Platinum broke. A lot of guns broke, and you just need to be prepared for that and be prepared to fix stuff. Now, there's some things that you can fix with very basic parts that are small. You know, hop-ups, stuff like that, gas blowback parts, you know, if your nozzle snaps, whatever. You can have a spare one of those in your bag, but what if your like machine gun goes down? What if your primary snaps in half of the buffer tube? What are you gonna do? So I would highly recommend, it's not required at Milsim West, excuse me, but having a backup gun. If you can carry a full-size rifle or a PDW that's correct for your fashion, best option out there. If you can't, a handgun is gonna be your best friend. I saw so many guys where their saw went down or their rifle went down, whatever it may be, and they were able to stay in the game with just their handgun. Somebody in my platoon, they had 2 saws go down in the parking lot, and their solution was, I have a pump spring shotgun. And I think he had the most fun out of any of us at the entire event, because every time that he got a kill with it, completely ecstatic. So just be prepared that stuff is going to break. There are going to be failure spots, and some of this is going to be a lesson for the next event you go to, but there's some stuff that you can at least remedy. Small parts are easy to carry, again, hop-ups, nozzles, whatever it may be. If you need to like really break into your gearbox, that might be a lot, but if you can fit it in your ruck comfortably and it doesn't weigh you down, might not be a bad thing to consider. You might not use it, but you know, it's one of those things where if you don't use it, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, or a teammate might need it. So be prepared for stuff to break. And then finally, the last thing that I want to talk about is bring friends. Milsim West seems like one of those things that would suck to go into alone. A lot of people go to a Milsim West because, as the name implies, it's a military simulation, but it's really a social thing as well. You're going to bond with your squad, with your platoon, and you're going to make friends. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't bring friends of your own, because you're going to be able to communicate better. Now, this game was one of the largest groups I've ever played with. I'm a member of Task Force KEG. We do infantry impression kits from 2012 to 2014. There's probably 40 of us, so we had a platoon and a half of dudes. And that was great because it kept everybody motivated. If you've ever seen infantry kit, it sucks. It's heavy, it's cumbersome, especially for a small guy like myself. It's a lot of weight. Having everybody who is sharing that experience, not only the game, but like the crappy equipment, it was a big morale booster. Everybody kept each other hyped. We were checking in on each other. And I feel like if you go without friends, you're just not going to get that experience. Sure, you might make some friends along the way, but go with friends. It's going to enhance your experience so much. Join a team if you can, whether it be, you know, just the guys you go to open plays or other events with, an impression group, whatever it may be. I think that is just going to enhance your experience so much if you go with friends. But yeah, guys, those are just some of my basic tips for Milsim West. Make sure that you have your sustainment gear, which is going to be your cold and wet weather gear, your sleeping system, and your food items. Make sure you have all those down. You know how to use it. You know how to pack it efficiently. Be prepared for stuff to break. Test your kit. And then finally, bring some friends, because, you know, the more the merrier, and I promise you're going to have a much better time. That's going to do it for today's video. I just want to say a huge thanks to all of the Milsim West staff and cadre for making the events possible. I seriously mean it when I say that there's nothing like Milsim West in North America, or even, you know, the Western Hemisphere. There's just nothing around here that compares to what they do, and the way that the staff interacts with players is just unmatched. If you enjoyed today's video, I would love it if you joined our community by hitting that subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, hit the bell icon next to it so you get notified when I post new videos. If you want to connect even more, make sure to join my Discord server, which will be linked in the description below. This has been Lane from the BB Warrior talking about what I would do if I was going to a Milsim West, my tips and advice, and I'll see you all next time.